Hello, this is John Speelman with the latest monthly column for ChessBase, and it's 229, I believe, and I've called it, let's see what I've called it, something like Defeat and Redemption, something like that, yes. So I started off, I was talking about Capablanca. I made some terrible joke which I may remove about Mr. White cloak. I'm going to consult. Anyway, Capablanca went for a decade losing just 2 games, apparently. And, well, there weren't that many strong players and there weren't that many tournaments. But nowadays, even the very best players lose lots of games, and I checked Magnus Carlsen. I found 54 losses in 2025. Most of them were blitz. I didn't find any bullet actually, but that maybe just isn't in my database. Some chess 960, some rapid play, and only one actual proper classical game, which was against Gukesh in Norway. So I said, look, everybody loses games. Then I was writing about a really, really horrible game that Abdusattorov lost in the Oz-Chess tournament. So, I said, okay, losses come in different shapes and sizes, but he lost this awful game against Yakuboyev, where he defended rook against rook and bishop for 43 moves, and then blundered sufficiently badly, so easy to do in this revolting ending, that he actually lost on move 46, so 4 moves short of the 50 move rule. And what else did I say? I said that I've had my share of losses. The worst must be either the ones where you go through 180 degrees in a second, or the ones where you get tortured and you nearly hold and you lose. And then I said, oh well, Magnus also, since I wrote the second paragraph, he also lost to Gukesh and said something about not enjoying playing chess. And I know people say that. And I said I can't possibly be the only grandmaster who hasn't given up chess in his mind many times after some awful game, and then been lured back to the board later. And so I thought what I'd do is I'd just give 3 of my games, 2 in which disasters happened, and 1 in which, I don't know, I did something rather bad to my opponent. The game was perfectly fair, but it was, Jeroen Piket was certainly winning for most of it, before eventually I turned it round. And I'm starting with the game against Gyula Sax, so he died a few years ago, didn't he? Very nice man, who I knew not very well, but a little bit. And I lost this awful game to him in Hastings, where I was foaming at the mouth, went out the tournament hall and kicked the door, I said viciously. It was quite hard anyway. And I looked round and I felt awful because he was behind me. And I really don't think you should be rude to your opponents. If you lose a game... Well, you remember when Magnus lost that game? Was it the game he lost to Gukesh? And he stomped off, but then he knocked pieces off the board. He put them all back. He got up, he shook hands with his opponent, and then he patted his opponent in the back as he went out. So, your anger is not aimed against your opponent, but against yourself for your gross stupidity, which sometimes... Because we're carbon-based creatures, that's what happened. So I've got 3 games. This is the first one, actually. It's in a database, I don't know if you can see it. It's column 229, it's PGM, and it's with Gyula. And it was a French. I annotated it. I played different lines against the advanced variation, but I played this one this time. Can't take back with a pawn, he took with a knight. They often play c4. I don't know if it's the best move at all, but it's a move they play quite often. And they played some moves, I took it. What did he do? A4. A4 wasn't particularly what the engine thought. And now h5 is okay, I think, to put the bishop in a bad square. Now it really hates queen f7, and the reason Oh, I want rook d8, yeah. Queen f7, the problem is rook d1, rook d8, bishop b3, bishop b7, takes, then you go here. And that causes a really major incident, because obviously you can't castle. And also, I mean, you couldn't go bishop b6 because of queen to g6, I think, or at least that was the idea. I'm not sure if you can get bishop b6. Can you go bishop b6, queen g6, knight d5? Is that possible or not? I'm going to ask an engine now. So I'm looking at bishop g6. Queen g6, knight d5, that can't be much fun either. King f8, exclam. That's a filthy trick, isn't it? And suddenly white's pieces are all over black's. Knight f4, looks like the move, and then you must go queen e4. And an incident has occurred. Right. So bishop takes e6 is actually a mistake. I wonder if I saw that. I might have done, who knows. It's a long time ago. It's 35 years ago. I'm going to save this. Okay, anyway, he played f4, rook d8, rook to there. Got my knight out. This has really gone rather badly for him, because now I've got this wonderful bishop, and his bishop isn't great. He goes here, I take. He's won a pawn, but it's irrelevant. I gain a tempo, and then by the way, pawn takes bishop obviously didn't work. Bishop takes queen takes, rook a8, nothing happens. Okay, take, and g5. If he takes, I go knight to there, bishop to there, knight b3, and just pick up his rook or something. He can go queen a3 still, can he? Queen a3, and then knight takes a1. Okay, it's just a really bad position. Take king g7. All my pieces are good, especially the glorious bishop on d5, and it's not a good position for him at all. Okay, g3. And I don't think it really even occurred to me at this stage that this could go wrong. My knight ends up there. As I said, it's snorting at his king. It is the king's face. Queen to there's okay. And now I should have gone. Afterwards I gave queen c7, king f1, rook to there, queen to there, check here. This is one line I gave. I don't know, and also, yeah. Alright, so rook d3 is also okay. And here I missed, he should have gone queen h1, which is still not too bad. Now I missed knight e5, which basically wins. Knight e5, bishop takes, there's queen d2 check, which finishes the game. Check here, here, king to there, rook to there. He gets the odd check for nothing more. And basically I'm completely winning. Partly because g3 is a disaster area. Obviously he can try to play for a bit, but he should lose. But so rook d7, queen h1, good move. And here I blunder. I play queen f5, after which he gets his queen in. I mean, the move I should play, there's queen g6, but the good move is queen d3, queen to there, knight h4, covering g6, good move. And you have to go to e4. The important thing is to go to e4, because if you go to e3, then his king can try to run. But here now, if king d1, you got rook d7 check. He hasn't got that square to run to. So you make a draw. Anyway, I played queen f5, which was not a good move, and he goes here, and actually he's now winning, which is a bit grim. And I tried to get him, but I didn't manage. And he ran like a rabbit. And I said afterwards, 35 years later, I have to say I'm really impressed by how well Gyula did this. I mean, at the time I was not a happy bunny, I have to say. I really wasn't. And I resigned and stomped out and thought about giving up chess and didn't, as you will have noticed. Yes, okay. That's one. So that's one of them. The next one is a game with Christian Bauer. This was about 10 years later, and I said, of course, he's now a much stronger player than me. But at the time he was only 21, he was rated 2480, I was 2600, 2490, yeah. And I was trying to beat him, of course. So I was trying to play my B60 things. We got a French. I lost him in a French in the 4NCL a few years ago. But by that stage, of course, he was a much stronger player than me, or much stronger playing strength. It was this one, actually. This is a well-known system. And rather than try to hack, white just takes and plays bishop b4. If you could avoid exchanging the white squared bishops, you'd have a good game as black, because eventually your two bishops will count. But here, it's basically about equal. I lost this once to Tiviakov. I gave a few games I played. I played Mark Heidenfeld, old Irish player, in Bunratty once as white and got some advantage but drew. I lost to Tiviakov and I drew him with John Ems and somebody else as well. Oh, Lembitol, I think, the late Lembitol. And yeah, he could have played knight d4 at some moment. Okay, we play some chess. That's really asking for trouble, I'd say. The thing is now, this is all very splendid, but when he does that, he has a target on b2, the size of a football pitch, and this is really a problem. I think I did okay to start with that. The queen c6 was actually better, but there was a line he could sort of play chess. How did it manage to play chess? That's right, in this position he goes rook d7 check, which is absolutely the only move to have any chance, and he has some chances here, having got rid of my glorious bishop. Otherwise he just loses without a fight. But that way he can fight. And this is what the engine said to me in 2025. I went queen c7, and he managed to annoy me a bit. That's getting the rook off prise, of course. If I went rook takes rook, would he go queen takes rook check and queen takes a4 maybe? Probably would, wouldn't he? So I have to do this first. And he's really annoyed me with his queen and his rook, so I end up having to do this. And I've lost a pawn, but I've still got b2 to attack. And the most sensible thing to do now would to... This is still okay. Would just have been to go c5 here. With a draw. He got this a bit wrong. He went there and there, which is stark staring mad in my opinion. You can't have pieces as passive as this and do well. I think he's still okay after knight f3 actually, but quite soon he was losing. He managed to fiddle around with his horse quite well. He annoyed me. Quite clever. There. Threatening to go to f4. Getting into g2. And apparently at this stage I'm actually winning if I play rook f2. I took, didn't I? I should have gone rook f2 first. Check, takes here, here takes, king takes, pawn takes, I go there and get this in, and if king takes I do check in there. Okay, he's got a passed a pawn, but the rest of his position is absolutely disgusting, and apparently he's losing. I mean, it's not obvious to me, but I'm not surprised that the a pawn doesn't. I mean, this ending just looks better for black to me, but I couldn't tell very easily about the a pawn. I took, which was a mistake. Rook b2 is apparently a draw, And now I played a really, really awful move, rook to there. 2 question marks, transforming. I worked out rook takes rook was a draw, so I went here, and he went there, and now he's winning. Serves me right for my stupidity. This is the best way to do it. And my king's cut. If my king was in b6, then in theory this position would be a draw. It's jolly unpleasant, but in theory it should be a draw. With the king cut, it's just lost. And we've played a few more moves. He did this what check. Of course, if I go to the c file, he plays queen c3 check, so my king gets driven a bit further away. It's all pretty vexing, really, isn't it? Any decent player can do that. And I resigned because queen takes pawn, queen a4 check. So, a pretty vexing game. It was in the Escaldes zonal tournament, which I remembered as being in Portugal, but of course it's in Andorra. And I can remember we were in this mountain village, or this village in the mountains. And we basically, well, after losing this, I was playing catch-up the whole tournament. But I beat Mark Hebden in the penultimate round, and then I was black against Jeroen. We had this disgraceful game, really. So he did go to c4. Nowadays, yeah, there are other things to do here. Bishop d3 is a good move, actually. Well, interesting. I mean, my engine says queen checks and queen e7 or something isn't too bad. And queen h4 is just stupid. I mean, you're supposed to go knight to there, pawn takes pawn, knight f5. I said there are some games by Matthew Sadler, which he won one and drew one. I think he drew with Thomas Luther from a winning position. He beat somebody. But when you stick an engine on a position like this, obviously you get all sorts of ludicrous variations, some of which are more playable than others. Anyway, I went queen, and I gave these variations, but I did this. And suddenly I really didn't like my position. I thought pawn takes pawn was disgusting, and I found the glorious move h5. But I know I took first, he went knight e2. That's right, so I went... he went bishop f4, actually. I went h5, which is insane. But alright, you just got to do what you got to do. I said in the notes at the end of this game, I wrote a note which I'm proud of, that my wife tells me I've written the same note many times before, which is basically that it's the joy and horror of chess, that you're playing a person, not a machine, so you just have to do your best. And what I actually ended up saying in this note was, sometimes you both get covered in slime and then you do the best you can. In this game we're certainly both covered in either slime or mud. Okay, it's awful, really. I think pawn takes is quite okay, but he did. I managed to get in g5, but look at my position. I mean, it is foul, isn't it? I get in g4. Then I played the magnificent move knight b4. No, I took first, and I played knight b4, which, you know, obviously, what can I say? Unsurprisingly, he has rather a lot for the exchange. We played some more moves. And here he played, what did he do? He took this. I found some move. Why didn't I can't remember. And now queen d1 would have won. We were having a scramble, obviously, but he went rook d1 because he saw check and take my rook. The problem is when his rook goes to f1, if he goes the obvious thing, bishop takes knight, rook takes, rook f1, king g8, queen takes rook, I have queen c4 at the end. And I mean, what can you say? It really isn't a great game of chess in a... and he resigned because I'm going to play rook h1 next. So yeah, I mean, I was very pleased by this, obviously, at the time. It got me to Las Vegas. There were 6 spots in Las Vegas for the zonal. There were 8 people left first equal on whatever we were equal. And I thought, you think Jordi Magam was one of the people who missed out. Possibly somebody like Dorfman. I looked it up in Wikipedia, when I was writing this, but I didn't write the full thing. Anyway, I got down to round 2 in Las Vegas, where I lost to Boris Gelfand. I lost my queen in the second game quite early for a rook and a bishop, which wasn't enough, and it was won by Alexander Halifman. And, it was one of the FIDE Knockout World Championships. And I was in Caesar's Palace complaining about the kit while my wife and my son were with her dad in a muddy caravan in Wales, so this didn't necessarily go down that well, actually. Anyway, but this game did get me there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I think they're interesting games. I will be back whenever I'm back in August, which will be first Sunday in August. I'm just turning this light on. Don't know what this will do to my face. Here we go. What is it? 1st, 2nd, 3rd of August it looks like is going to be a Sunday, isn't it? So I'll be back then. Now I'm going to do my usual thing of going back and checking I'm recording, because if I'm not, I'm going to scream. Thank heavens I am. And see you in a month.